Okay, so in this one, we're going to break a test and learn about a concept called migrations. So let's go ahead and change our title field here from title to name. So now that I've changed it to name, I'm going to run python manage.py, make migrations. Like I said, now it's asking me if I want to rename this. Yes, I do. So that will allow my database to know it's just a rename. And then I'm going to go ahead and run python manage.py migrate. And now I'm going to run python manage.py test videos. And I get 2 errors. Okay. So this is why we write tests, and we should do it early on, is to catch things like this. It seems like it's not a big deal, and it probably isn't a big deal in this case because it's so simple. But even something this simple would break when we get our system really, really big. So that means then that inside of test.py, this is trying to create a video with that title. It's trying to filter by that title. So 2 tests, or really 1 test fails, which is this one right here. But then even the setup process fails. So it kind of fails twice. And that's why we get this unexpected argument. And it has 2 errors on it. Okay. So that, of course, is not what I want to have happen. Instead, I want this to be title. So let's go ahead and run those migrations again. So again, we changed models.py. So we want to run python manage.py make migrations. I'm going to change it back to what it was. And then python manage.py migrate. And then python manage.py test. Every single time. I know, it's really, really fun. Okay, so now we have everything successful, back to where we wanted it to be. That's great. Okay, so what actually happened under the hood here? Of course, the tests were validating some of those changes, but what happened was Django made a new folder called migrations. Now, we actually run that command called make migrations, and we've ran it a few times now. So python manage.py make migrations actually looks for all of the changes inside of models.py, which is why we run it every time we save models.py. And then after we say all the changes are good and we're ready to go, it creates a file called a migration file. Not surprising. And this actually gives us a working history of the changes that happen in any given model. The very first thing we did was create the model, right? So we made the app, then we created the model, we saved the file, and then we got all this stuff. It actually added all of the different fields that are built in both to Django and to what we wrote, right? So these are the things we wrote. The ID field was built into Django. That's in there by default. We'll touch on that a little bit more later. Then we made a change to one of the fields. What did we name? We renamed the field from the model of video, right? So the model class being video. Then the old name was title. The new name is name. And then we changed it back, right? So migrations allow for us to see what those changes are over time as it pertains to Django and our database with whatever database we end up using. But then tests ensure that we are keeping integrity of our code while we're doing that, all right? So you can see how this could potentially be a much bigger issue if we were so inclined. So that's actually, I think, really, really cool and really useful when it comes to writing tests and understanding what Django's doing inside of migrations. Now, if you're not aware, just creating the migrations file doesn't actually do anything. It just makes a reference for us. That's why when we actually call migrate, this actually changes the structure of our database. It changes the database schema safely through Django. So Django's acting like a middleman saying, hey, database, we're getting ready to change you with make migrations, and then database, we're going to change you with migrate, and then database, or actually code, we're going to test you with test, right? So those are the 3 commands we always want to run when we make changes to models.py.